What is going on, everyone? We are going to talk a little bit about a couple of things today. We're going to talk about that Atomic Mass Games live stream. There's actually a lot of folks all over social media talking negatively about it, which I was kind of surprised of. Way more like naysayers and haters about that than I would have expected. And so that's one of the things I want to talk about today. That'll probably be the first thing we talk about. But I also want to talk about general expectations, things that I have coming up, things you may have seen lately, what's going on, and just kind of hang out and chat with you guys, do some Q&A and kind of Saturday night hangout. So, hey everybody, how is it going? Let me know what is up with you guys on a Saturday night. Who's going to watch the Super Bowl tomorrow? If you're into that sort of thing. If not, then no problem. Let me know what your weekend plans are, because I have. I've been dealing with crisis aversion, and so that much is fun. We had the garage kind of break, whereas one of the kids put something in the way and tried to close the garage, and it broke the whole thing. And so, fortunately, that is fixed now. All right. So let's talk about the AMG stream. The Atomic Mass Games had their first Star Wars stream this weekend. As if you watched, you already know I didn't have a problem with it. It was pretty much exactly what I expected. I expected that there would just be, kind of a lot of talking about, the process and, hey, we want you guys to manage your expectations because it takes a long time to get this stuff. And then a little bit in the spoiler department. There was at least one surprise for me in that, there were a few, I think. There were a few surprises in that. The big one was that the Legion, that LAT is actually dual faction. So that one's cool. Some of you guys doing some paintings. Bleed Green Productions jumping in with the super chat. Bleed Green Productions, the only place where you bleed green and produce. I don't know. You can use that logo if you want, but I don't think that's good. I think we could do better. Yeah. Olaf says they did mention an 18 to 24 month lead time. Yeah, that's about average. I think best case scenario is going to be less than that. But one of the things that I learned very early in my professional career is to under promise and over deliver. So you kind of, if it's going to take you 1 year, you tell somebody it's going to take longer than that, and hopefully you come in, on or earlier than your expected target date. I wish Kickstarter people could do that. And I think they try to, but I don't think I've ever had a Kickstarter come in early. Do you think they're going to lean more into the dual faction style? I think they might. So there were a couple of other good things I thought from the AMG stream, and I'm going to get into the hate here in just a second. So, I thought it was interesting. They talked about the possibility of doing unpainted ships as an option. Like, basically, they didn't say unpainted specifically, but they said they were looking at ways to give people options for those who really want to repaint and customize their ships further. And to me, that sounded like unpainted ships, or potentially like ships with like maybe unassembled ships. Maybe ships that you could be like, hey, I want to build this Nebulon as an Imperial Nebulon. I want to build this as an up-armored version of the ship. I want to build this Mon Calamari with extra engines, and things like that. And I think that would be a really cool thing if they give you like kind of options like that. And maybe unassembled on a sprue still, or unpainted or whatever. Just as a cosmetic option for those who want to do it. I would love to do stuff like that. That'd be great. Actually, I would love it if it was more than just a cosmetic option, because I would want it to also have a ship base and a ship card. It doesn't have to have upgrades and all the other stuff that a full-blown expansion has, but I want to be able to at least field it as a ship in addition to my fleets. So like the ISD one, right? So kind of like how the ISD has lots of little different ways, and come up with different options of that. But the thing is, I don't want it to be just a model, because I want to actually be able to, put it on a stand. Or if they would just come up with acrylic stands, that was one thing I kind of wanted. They didn't take my question for that. But there's that, and they also talked about the scenarios, the narrative stuff, and the Vader down possible scenario for Star Wars Legion, which is I think would be really fun. Like ultimate encounters I think will be a really fun thing, and hopefully we see that for more than just Legion. But I've already started thinking about a way to do an Ultimate Encounter Legion for Darth Vader. Like, I'm already kind of tooling around ideas in my head, and so I might try and see if I can come up with one fairly soon, and see, you know, if it's more or less fun than theirs. But well, maybe, you know, that would be a fun free community expansion, right? Vader versus an 800 point Rebel army. You know, see how well it works. And the idea is that I'm thinking of is just make a totally awesome Vader. Don't make a whole scenario of it, but just make it a really, really awesome Vader, and give him enough keywords, and give him a bigger unit card, and make it to where he could go, he could also go up against other Ultimate characters. Make him an 800 point character. He doesn't get any upgrades. He is just the way he is, and I think that would be really fun. So the AMG stream, there were a lot of people complaining, and I think a lot of the complaints that I've seen are kind of unnecessary or unfounded, or maybe even come from a point of incorrect expectations, or maybe just maybe, I don't want to be nasty, but even maybe ignorance kind of about how things work. You know, there's some people said that, oh, well, they've had, AMG's had Star Wars for a couple of months now. They should have had a whole lot more stuff to announce us rather than just the FFG leftovers. I'm like, they've only had it for like 3 months. That's not enough time. You know, and I think that was one of the complaints that a lot of people had, that they were disappointed that more stuff wasn't announced. And you're not going to get that. I just think that's, I can understand why somebody might think that if they don't know how the industry works and how long it takes to get stuff created, tested, approved by licensing, printed, shipped back, and then sent off for distribution to stores. Like, that takes forever. You know, that's the whole 18 to 24 month timeline. It can work quicker than that, but there's so many things that can delay it. Whether it's a boat sinking, a shipping container going lost, licensing, not approving stuff. The Street Fighter miniatures game on Kickstarter right now is going on its 3rd year, and like almost 9 months of that delay was Capcom saying they were only going to approve like up to 5 cards per week, and then the game has like over 1,000 cards or something like that. They had to approve all the artwork and on every single card, and for all of the expansions, and you know, all that nonsense. So licensor is another thing, you know, that people need to think about. What's going on, everybody? We got Audrey, we got Harry, Nick in the house. How you guys doing? So Nick says they could have announced a lot more, but if it would have been, it would have been way too early for the vast bulk of what they. Yeah, I think that there's probably some more stuff still in the pipe that they probably weren't ready to announce yet. They just can't snap their fingers and have most projects at 99% completion. I agree. I think there's probably a few more things. I don't know if there's more for Armada in the pipe, or at least how far in the pipe. You know, I think especially with the delays of things getting pushed back, I think some of the Legion stuff has been slowed down. I need to talk a little bit about some more of the Legion stuff, because we got at least 3 more expansions coming for Legion, probably more than that. AR says, I would like a new Raider for X-Wing. Thanks for the super chat, AR. I appreciate it. A new Raider for X-Wing. You know, they have the 2.0 Raider. They have them already printed. It was like a last minute decision to like not release them to stores. And so I think, and it's about the same as the original Raider, but it's got a blue paint on the engine is the only difference. It was on display at Gen Con. I know they made it. I know they have it. You know, I've seen it, you know, with these 2 eyes. Actually, it's in some of my, if you go back and find my old Gen Con live streams, you'll see it in there. So, you know, and they could say, oh, well, that was only a prototype. Yeah, but it was a prototype of something that got canceled a week before it was supposed to be, you know, shipping to distributors, you know, or a week before, you know. So, yeah, So like that was one of the things that I think that was complained about. The other thing that was complained about was you know, like a lack of Armada stuff, like specifically the lack of Armada stuff. I guess each of the games had something to complain about. Like the X-Wing folks weren't happy that it was just the 3 Aces packs that we kind of already knew about. The Armada folks were upset that it was like nothing, although it wasn't exactly nothing. They gave us kind of some different looks at some of the ship cards And so that's going to help the micro analysis, and the people who want to absorb every little bit of information. It helps us. I'm going to be factoring in all of that stuff into my ship breakdowns of what we do know. I'm behind on that, but I've had a lot of terrain for Legion to go over. I don't know how many of you guys have seen any of the terrain reviews I've been doing. I got more. I'm not done yet. There's more mats, more terrain. It's gonna be coming all week. Yeah, this has been a major influx of terrain coming in lately. So yeah, I'm trying to get it all reviewed. It's cool terrain, man. I've been very fortunate. MOTF in the house. What's going on? Hey, mate, what are your thoughts on the price increase? For example, an ISD was 65 Australian dollars on release. Now, to get a Providence, it's 210. Wow. Or I'm sorry, 120. I'm a little dyslexic. That's almost double the. No, well, I don't know if that particular. What's going on, Ken? I don't know if that price increase constitutes the same price increase we've seen here. It's gone up much less. Like the factor that's like a 95% increase. We've seen closer to a 20% increase here, whereas the ISD was I think $50, and now the new large chips are 65. So that's only $15 on top of a 15. So that's, I don't know the quick math. I feel like that's somewhere between 20 and 25% of an increase or something like that. But it's a much smaller increase. And I wonder how much of that is related to tariffs or VAT taxes and kind of international trade and shipping types of things inflating that cost. And I wonder how much of it is distributors and your actual game stores kind of changing things. I don't know. That does sound a little bit extreme for me. I understand that prices do need to go up over time. Inflation is a thing. I think the ISD, I looked it up at one point. The ISD, or what at least in the United States, a $50 item back when Armada first came out, which was when they kind of priced all the first two waves of stuff, would be, I want to say, about $55 today. So at least $5 just accounts for inflation and nothing else. Not to mention the tariffs and COVID and other costs and things that go into that. Plus, I don't know. I guess you're getting more cardboard because the cards are bigger. The upgrade cards are bigger now. So I don't know if the weight, how that throws off the weight of the box. Granted, there's less plastic in there. I think obviously, I think there's a little bit of, hey, let's see if we can squeeze an extra $5 or $10 in there. There's probably a little bit of that into this, but I don't know. I don't know when the price point was determined. The price point may have been determined after the switch to Atomic Mass Games, and part of that may very well be Atomic Mass Games is located in Seattle. To get people to work on the game for Armada, have them based out of Seattle. Well, the cost of living is higher in Seattle, so you have to actually pay your people more so that they can feed their families and stuff. So that's actually going to, I think, this stuff without Atomic Mass Games means that we're probably going to expect yet another increase, or maybe that's what this is taken into account. That could be the extra $10. It might just be that they're living in a more expensive place to live now, and so that incurs its own costs. But that is another thing that people are kind of salty about. But yes, so and a lot of this is just me speculating. I don't have insider info on the AMG cost of living and what why everything costs exactly what it costs. I do know this though: these guys are not getting rich off of this stuff. I think they're really, the costs are them trying to stay afloat and stay in business and keep everything business worthy and such that also we don't know how. Maybe Lucasfilm changed the deal. Maybe Lucasfilm says, and instead of our normal 50%, we're now going to take 60% or whatever. I don't know what percentage a licensor actually charges you of your product. I don't think it would be that much. I'm guessing it'd probably be somewhere around 15 to 20. But yeah, there could be something like that. Maybe they had to renegotiate the deal. I don't know. So I want to go back to the AMG hate. So there was a lot of game specific stuff. I saw some people were not happy about the fact that they had models on the live stream, and that one didn't bother me at all because that's the way AMG has always done their live streams. So if you've ever seen an AMG stream before, what they generally do is kind of informally show you the models up close so you can see the miniature. and that's, they do that more so than they do the FF, because the FFG had a different format. FFG was, when they used to do their live streams, they would also, a lot of times they'd be in their studio and they had a specific format, how is it a bad thing to have seen the models? I don't know. I think they wanted to see more. I think they wanted to see, well, in the case of Legion, those new vehicles, and I am amongst this, I'm very eager to see more than the model. The model's cool, but I want to see the unit card, because I expect these new miniatures for Legion to also be in that like $65 or more price range. They're huge. The boxes were like this big. I think they're gonna be about 80 or 85. I wouldn't be surprised if they're 89.99, $90. I wouldn't be surprised if they're that cost, because the boxes are huge. It's a lot of plastic. And they look really cool. They look great. But if I'm going to spend that much on a heavy, where I already have more than 2 heavies, or for the Rebels and the Empire, I've got 2 heavies at least for every faction, so I don't need any more heavies. So why do I need this? That's my question. I wanted to see the unit card. What's so great about these things outside of the model, from a gameplay perspective, that makes me want to spend probably $100 model and paint it up, assemble it, put it on the table. And I think people wanted to know the answers to that, but I wasn't in a rush to get that, because it's not time to pre-order it yet. But I think a lot of people wanted that, and because they didn't get that, they were disappointed, because FFG used to do that. That's a complaint that I can understand, but more of as a critique rather than being a negative Nancy about it. Well, I don't like that term, because people out there might be named Nancy. So basically, rather than being a naysayer or whatever, or just being, generally a Debbie Downer. Wait, that's why I got a problem with Nancy's and Debbie's now. But yeah, so I didn't have a problem with that. I think we'll get that, and hopefully soon, because I am very anxious to see that. But one of the biggest problems that I had was people were commenting on the lack of professionalism with this particular live stream, and how they hadn't gotten, like, there were some technical difficulties, and that people were just kind of using kind of a lower resolution webcam at their home, and it kind of was fuzzy and out of focus and just didn't look all that great, as far from compared to the type of production that you're used to seeing high-end YouTubers and stuff, and Twitch streamers and stuff do. So it wasn't like a 60 minutes interview or something like that. And I think people wanted better production quality. But I think that's one of the things that annoys me the most, because these people are working from their homes. These people are not professional YouTubers. It felt like friends talking. Yeah, no, it was pretty informal. I do think that, and I like to take both sides on stuff, because I don't like to just dig my feet in the sand too much. And while I do criticize those viewpoints, I would like to think that once lockdowns are over, and once we've got enough people with the vaccine, that that everybody's going back to work and things get back to normal, I would like for them to work on the professionalism of their streams. If they're going to be streaming twice a week or more, I would like for them to eventually have it done very well, get better cameras, better lighting, all of that stuff. They used to do a pretty decent job with the live streams, but if that's going to be part of your job, is to live stream twice a week, then that kind of makes you a streamer, and you should work on doing better. But there you go. But a lot of times the folks doing this, Will Schick and all those guys at Atomic Mass Games, they're, I don't think they're live streamers first. They're just doing that as a bonus. And people complain about that, but imagine if they didn't do it. And this is, I think, the important takeaway. You complain that all right, the live stream, it was informal, it wasn't super professional. These people are business people first. They're running companies. They're trying to get production, licensing, and all of these things done. And when they have time, they sit down and do a live stream for everybody. And it's like, imagine if they didn't. Imagine if they're like, you can just get an official press release once a year, or whatever. Then we'd be really hurting for information, and I'd have to make up even more stuff and be like, hey guys, let's do an April Fool's joke, X-Wing 4.0, whatever. So imagine if they didn't do it. So I'm grateful that they did it. And also, I recognize that these people are working from home. They don't have studio equipment in their home because they're not streamers first. I don't expect them, and heck, if I go back to when I first started my YouTube channel, like I didn't have lighting, I didn't have a lot of equipment, I didn't have a setup. Some of my first videos, I was just like holding my camera, and it was all wobbly, or I would prop it up against the book, and like it'd fall down sometimes. I wouldn't edit it out. Like really, I had to. And I actually I went for like a year or two just having terrible production quality, and even like there's just a lot that goes into it. And I'm not even saying I have great production quality. I'm still pretty casual about how I do a lot of my streams and my content. I don't try to be like ultra top tier because also I'm putting out a lot of stuff. But I don't expect these people to have that kind of equipment. A lot of people, the best they can do is that little webcam that comes in their laptop, and that's usually a cheap, low resolution webcam. Some people were saying stuff about, they held up the stuff, but it wasn't super clear. I'm like, well, they're doing the best they can. Oh yes, Audrey says, and Lando would come in and stop you mid conversation, and you forget where you were. Yes, I have, for the most part, like having a family and also being a YouTuber. It's there's a lot of training and expectations and stuff that go into that. I'm like, all right, guys, like I'll gather up with the whole tribe and all the kids. I'm like, all right, Daddy's getting ready to stream. So what does that mean? Be very, very quiet. Like very good, And there's that. And so like I kind of had the older two, and then when the younger one came along, when Lando came along, there was definitely some like he didn't know, so he would just kind of jump in. I'm like, all right, well, and I'm really grateful for that one dude who freaked out when his kid came in when we first started working from home. Like, you remember that one guy who was doing the news broadcast and his kid opened the door and he's like, and he lost his cool, and he was like panicking. I'm glad I saw that first because that prepared me for the things that can happen. And so when it happened, I'm like, all right. I remember the first time it happened too. I'm like, well, I guess you're in this one now. Yeah, and that's another reason why I try not to be too, well, not really the reason, but it's one of the reasons why I'm not like super ultra professional with my streams, is just because my life is kind of chaotic and things happen. I got struck by lightning during a live stream. Well, the house did, during a live stream one time. It's kind of chaos. So I'm just trying to roll with it and keep the stress down, because this is fun. This is why I do all this stuff, is for you guys. It's just fun. So, I mean, now granted, I don't want to paint this picture that like everybody's complaining about the AMG stream. From what I see, most people are pretty cool, but it's the few that are loud that get all the attention. All right. And sometimes people aren't even mad. Sometimes people just want to troll. Sometimes somebody's just like, hey, I thought the stream was terrible because porcupines have peanut butter on their nose. And then everybody's like, no, that's not fair to porcupines. How dare you say that? And then they didn't really mean that. But sometimes people just like, I used to do this when I was younger. I used to be a fantastic troll. I used to be such a good troll. And I loved it. And I regret this. Because I kind of got off on, rustling jimmies, because I just sit back and watch. Or I had some friends too that would like laugh. Like, if you have a friend that's trolling, don't encourage them, please. At least, I don't know, maybe that's just part of being youth. Maybe you're supposed to do it and get it out of your system. I don't know. But I used to do that, and I regret it. I was an annoying troll for a long time, and I think I like to think that I've grown up. I still have those thoughts sometime. I still Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was definitely the military aspect that fostered a lot of that. Just to try. Okay, so how many of you guys have ever played games like World of Warcraft or games that have damage per second, or where you're trying to make sure your DPS is high enough, right? I think most video games DPS is at least a common household term now. And early, when Star Wars: The Old Republic first came out, I remember raiding, and I was in these forums, and I was in a high-end raid guild. I got on this message board because we were on a PvP server. We would trash talk people, and I was so good at it. And I started a whole thread that just exploded because I criticized somebody who was talking trash about our our guild or whatever. I'm like, yeah, you think it's a big deal. You think your DPS is high, but it's not. The thing that you people don't get is it's not about your DPS. It's really about your DP. You know, you can DPS good, but what's your DPS per second? That's what really matters. And and people's heads exploded. They're like, and I had so many people that would, you know, and I remember it just went on for pages and pages and pages and of people trying to be like, wait, what? No, you don't understand what DPS stands for. But you know, I would do it. I'd come back, you know, like 10 pages later and and mention it again, and people just explode all over again. I remember I even said, like, I came back and I said something like, what do you have 80, the number 80, and then I'd say HD. Like, you don't understand me? What do you have, ADHD or something? And they're like, do you mean ADHD as opposed to 80? You know, and just like, just little things like that would just make people go nuts. And I didn't mean it. It was targeted trolling, and you know, just to make people's heads explode. And I see people doing that. I see people do that all the time now, and that's what, like, a lot of it just rolls off my back. But I don't, you know, I actually regret it, because I was just getting people angry, and you know, that's not, you know, counter trolling is a vital internet tool, yeah. But so anyway, the whole reason I'm talking about trolling is I wonder if how many of these people were just trolling the AMG stuff, because I think out of the AMG stream we got what we expected. Almost everything that I predicted was actually stuff that really happened. So you know, that's it was pretty good. It was an informative stream. I think we got a few positive takeaways and not too much. And then there's more stuff coming in March too. So we got another like info dump coming next month, which is also exciting. The one thing that I was hoping, and maybe it's not finalized yet, you know, and it's not even a criticism of the stream. Yeah, let the hate flow. But no, one of the things that kind of bums me out about a lot of our that we didn't get to meet the new teams. I would really like to know who is going to be the folks that they've brought on to work on X-Wing and Armada, and maybe maybe they haven't brought them on yet. Maybe they still haven't filled those positions, and if so, I also kind of want to know these things. You know, I don't know. I wish you know, that would be a really cool job. I wouldn't do it, but theoretically, it'd be a really cool job, because the problem is I would love to like be in a position like, all right, you're now working on the next Armada wave, and I'm like, ah, it'd be amazing. I hate for that to be my job, but I'd love to do that for fun. I'd rather do it for free than get paid for it, because then I get to keep it as something, as a passion, rather than like, you know. So you know, like, well, I wouldn't. I would still rather get paid. I'd rather do it freelance. There you go, freelance, than be able to make it like my career. That'd be really fun to work on, but I don't know. I also, having worked with FFG for years on all kinds of different things, whether it be, you know, play testing in the past, or working conventions for them, or just, you know, doing regular correspondence, you know, what pertaining to, you know, social media and other things. I get emails from people, or I have gotten emails from people at all hours of the day, whether it's early in the morning, midday, evening, late evening, midnight, like 3 in the morning. I'm like, what kind of hours do these folks work? How much are they, you know, working, these people? I don't know. So, and this was back in the FFG days, you know, so I don't know if, you know, how much pressure there is, or, you know, if it's like one of those jobs where they just kind of slave grind you down and don't pay you very well and hope that the joy of being able to work Star Wars is enough. Does anyone know what Alex is doing now? And I don't, but I know a number of other folks that have been let go by FFG have found work. A couple of them with Renegade Games. Jimmy from Organized Play and Matt Holland are both, you know, newly employed and have been kind of celebrating that on social media. So that is good. Have not heard anything about Alex Davey yet. I'm guessing we'll hear something soon. There's a certain, I think, amount of time or grace period, and you know, that probably goes into certain things. And he was probably one of the biggest names to get let go. So I guess we shall see. Oh, all right. So yeah. So basically, you know, a lot of people were not unhappy with the the kind of casual nature of the AMG stream, and I don't know how much of it was legit and how much of it was just a simple. You never seen an AMG stream? That's kind of how they run. They run kind of casual, and not just AMG, but a lot of companies that are doing stuff from home have people trying to do these live streams and interviews and this content updates. And these people aren't streamers by nature. They don't have the setups. They don't have the equipment. They don't have the skill set that goes into it. And not like it's a really hard skill set, but I think there is a skill set in being able to talk to a camera and keep it going and have the charisma and stuff to engage an audience. And I like to think that I've been doing a pretty good job at doing that, considering that I have to make content every single day. And the channel's been growing really well, so a big thank you to you guys, by the way. But you know it when somebody doesn't have it. You know when somebody's like really kind of mumbling or stuttering and just is kind of unprepared. That's these people aren't doing this all the time. That's not their job. So so the fact that they were doing it at all, I was really grateful for. So if they want to keep doing it in the future once lockdown's over, I think it would be a good idea to invest in in kind of upgrading the qualities of their streams and doing some of that. I think that's a good move forward. But and I would even say the same thing to compared to the old FFG streams. They had plenty of technical difficulties, and they actually had a studio set up for it. It happens. So all right. So I'm gonna do some. We'll do some Q&A and hang out for a little bit. Dusty says, "What's up? Glad you're doing this. You do a great job with it." Well, thank you, Dusty. Bryce says, "Who's your favorite Star Wars character?" That's a good question to open things on. My favorite Star Wars character. So there's so many different categories, and there's so many different ways to look at that. So what I'm going to do is I'll go kind of by era. I'll start with the prequels. I really like Qui-Gon, but I also like Mace Windu. It's kind of I'm going to go with Mace Windu because Qui-Gon got cut short. I think Qui-Gon was the ultimate, the last Jedi, or the last old style Jedi. I think he was pretty great for that. I mean, and I love Obi-Wan too. But the problem is, I wasn't crazy about episode 1 and episode 2 Obi-Wan. Episode 3 Obi-Wan was where, and that's kind of the whole, the beard's getting longer, by the way. I don't know if you guys noticed. I have not even trimmed this since before Christmas. So I used to keep it nice and real tight, and it's getting out there, man. It's a little straggly too. Before COVID, you used to be able to go into a place and have them groom your beard. You used to be able to get a professional beard grooming. I tried that twice, and I don't know. I got to find a new place, because one time I had somebody really take care, and it came out looking great. And then the next time they just took a buzz cutter and went, "All right, I'm charging you for the beard." I'm like, well, shit, I could have done that, So yeah. But now for the original trilogy, it's a toss up between Luke and Vader. Really, I like the Jedi Luke, but I've always had a thing for Vader. I'm gonna go with Vader, because Vader's the ultimate badass. He is the bad dude, ultimate bad dude, literally bad. Yeah, and then out of the sequels, I'll say Finn, because Finn got done wrong. Finn should have become a Jedi in the movies, and Rey should have trained him. Episode 9 should have gone in favor of Finn. And Episode 8 also, as much as I did like 8 at the time, I think one of the problems I've always had about 8 is that it did Finn wrong. It kind of threw Finn to the side and said, "Here, go do a fetch quest," and it was not good. But 8 did a lot of other good things. I could talk about the sequel trilogy all day long. Yeah, Finn, and Finn needs to come back. I think Episode 10. Because I've heard, I don't know if they're going to do it. I don't know if and when they'll do an episode 10. I think they will eventually. I think that's a sure thing. I'd like to see it focus on John Boyega. I'd like for him to be the central character. I've heard that Daisy Ridley won't come back. I mean, John Boyega may have burned some bridges because he spoke out about what was happening. But I think what he said was all righteous and good. And I don't think he was being, belligerent or anything like that. I think he was just talking about dude, there's, even amongst the woke, there's people that still don't realize the harm that they're doing and some of the missteps and missed opportunities. And so I think it's pretty cool to to hear things like that out and try to apply them to our lives. So yeah, no, I wasn't the biggest fan of the sequels overall, but I was still glad to have new Star Wars in the movie theaters. I mean, honestly, I loved each and every time that one of the movies was coming out, and I went to the movie theater and got my big old Slurpee and my little chocolate covered cookie dough balls, and sitting in that movie theater. I'm like, it's Star Wars Day. I'm watching a new Star Wars movie in the movie theater. Like that's one of the happiest that I'm capable of being, is on new movie day watching a brand new Star Wars movie in the movie theater. Even Solo, which I was not that crazy about Solo, because I knew from the beginning of the movie that all the the main three characters were going to be fine. So it takes something, it takes the suspense away from me. I knew Han, Chewie, and Lando were not going to die in this movie. They couldn't possibly. And, and as a matter of fact, they also couldn't be beheaded, and have a robot head replace it, or have their arms all cut off, or anything like that. Like, they couldn't have any, no, they couldn't, they weren't really ever going to be at risk, so I didn't really, but I still went and saw it. And to be fair, it was a very well done movie. I just, I like to not know if people are going to die. That's my little thing. I love moving forward in the timeline, where you don't know if there's going to be a new, super laser that blows up this planet. This planet, we're on this planet. Treat it carefully, because it could be gone tomorrow. This is Star Wars. They blow up planets all the time. And sure enough, you back and do prequel stuff. I'm like, oh, you're on Corellia. Well, this planet's not getting destroyed. What happens? And that's kind of my. I know that's a silly thing. I know a lot of people just care about the story more than the who's gonna die aspect. But I like both. And I'll still go see them. Like, I feel the same way with the Obi-Wan story. I'm like, oh, they're gonna do Okay, I know Obi-Wan's not gonna die in the Obi-Wan show, right? We know where he's gonna end up. But it's Ewan McGregor, and so I'll still watch it. I don't care. But that's one thing I love about The Mandalorian, because it's such a smaller thing. Like, anybody in there could die. We know the planets are probably not going to get blown up, but there's a lot of the future with The Mandalorian that's kind of wide open, and I kind of like that, because it keeps me suspenseful, and definitely going forward with whatever they end up doing with Thrawn and Ezra and Ahsoka and stuff, because the stakes can then get bigger, because they're going kind of like outside the galaxy, because to where Chila, I used to thought it was called Cilia, Thrawn's home planet, the Chiss home world. It's pronounced Chila, but that's outside of the the boundaries of the known galaxy. It's beyond the outer rim and stuff, and so now everything's up for grabs, because all that stuff out there, that could all get blown up. And I'm like, oh, yes. So that's going to be the next great mountain for me to pray at is Thrawn, whenever they start doing more Thrawn stuff. So I guess, I don't know if that's even a good analogy. And who prays at a mountain? I guess I would pray at that mountain. So there you go. Brand new analogy starting right here and now. Anyway, so let's see. I missed a bunch of stuff. So what else are we doing tonight? You guys having a good time? Enjoying your weekend? Let's see. It would be cool if they TPK the main characters in the middle. I don't know what TPK. The Phantom Knowledge? No. Qui-Gon, Legend of a Character. Yes. Looked Rogue One. Rogue One was great. The only problem I have with Rogue One is the space battle was awesome. It was my favorite part. It was so favorite of mine that anytime I turn it on, I want to jump straight to the last 20 minutes, last 20, 25 minutes. When the fleet kind of warps in, and that's when the movie is you had a good movie up until that point, but then once the fleet goes into hyperspace and emerges out of hyperspace, the whole it becomes, it's you're watching a good movie, and now all of a sudden pure ecstasy. And why would I ever want to just watch the movie again when I can just fast forward to pure ecstasy over and over again? So I've seen Rogue One dozens of times. I think I've only seen the first hour and a half of it twice, and those were the two times I had to sit through it in the theater. Once it came home for streaming or whatever, it's just skip to the end every time, because it's so good. That sounds silly. I want more of a fleet-based movie though. Speaking of fleet-based movies, there was a question earlier about Star Trek. Somebody said, "What is your favorite Star Trek movie and Star Trek series?" Well, that's a good question because I talk a lot about Star Wars here on this here Star Wars channel, but I really love Star Trek. What size do you think the Venator will be? Onager size? Yeah, we've seen it. It's going to be a large ship, about as long as as an ISD, but not quite as wide. But no, I really love Star Trek. My favorite Star Trek series is Deep Space Nine, easily. In my opinion, Deep Space Nine as a whole stands head and shoulders above everything else that has ever been done in Star Trek. That's just my opinion, and I don't mean that to poo-poo other Star Trek stuff. I'll say this: I still to this day have not watched all of the original series, just because older TV is harder for me to watch, and so like to go back and do a full rewatch of it, and because there's some episodes I've seen, there's a lot of episodes I probably haven't seen, because I saw reruns of it when I was very young, and I've gone back and watched a few episodes. It's harder. It's easier to watch if you watched it originally and now you're getting the nostalgia blast. But going to watch, TV from like the 60s is tough for me because, it's a little harder to watch, in my opinion. It doesn't mean that there's not value to have from that. I just haven't gotten around to doing that again. I did another rewatch of like The Next Generation again recently. Look, I love The Next Generation too. The Next Generation to me started so much. I see GKR heavy hitters there. I don't remember how it is. Honestly, I've been talking about that recently. I'm going to try and get another playthrough. Problem is, my bubble consists of my family and my buddy Sean, and I usually just play games with Sean. That's where you get a lot of my battle reports from. And if I remember correctly, GKR is not the best two-player game. It's better to play 3 or 4. Oh yeah, there's another thing about the AMG stuff. I'll get back to them. Remind me about the miniatures first. That I think that's another thing that people are complaining about, that they really just took way out of context. So I'll come back to that. But I'm talking about Star Trek right now. We're going to talk Star Trek for a little bit. DS9. Yeah, no. See, it got better every season, really. Especially once Sisko could shave his head. Like when I'm doing a DS9 rewatch, and I don't get to do this as often as I would like to, because I think it's something you should probably rewatch like every couple of years. And it's been at least 5 years since I've done a full rewatch of it. But when you're rewatching all of DS9 and that new season starts, and Sisko comes on board with the clean shaven head, you're like, oh, it's gonna get crazy now, because he's got the goatee, and that's when Worf shows up. Oh man. Like DS9 really got stronger then. But I will agree, the first 2 seasons had great episodes. Duet was a tremendous episode. And honestly, one of my favorite, maybe my favorite episode of DS9 that's kind of low-key good is one called Progress, where Kira was the freedom fighter, and now she's the government. And I think it's one of the first, in the first 5 episodes. She gets sent on it like, hey, we need this moon, it's government work, and this guy who was an old man who was also in the resistance and fighting alongside her is just like, Kira, you can't come stay for dinner. We're not leaving our homes. She's like, all right, yeah, but you've got to leave your homes. We need this moon for the Bajoran government. And he's like, look, that sounds like something the Cardassians would have done. And so she's got to make this choice of, is she still resistance or is she government now? And it's really good. I thought it was just such a great character arc episode for her, and I loved that episode. And it's not on anybody's lists of like top 10 episodes of DS9. So I always bring that one up when talking about great DS9 episodes. But no, Next Generation is good too. And one of the things that Next Generation has like at the top is the fact that it's got amazing Picard speeches, and it has all of that, which those are tremendous. Like Next Generation's good episodes are very, very, very good. But it also has it has great peaks, but has a lot of valleys in between. And for me, like DS9 is almost as high as those peaks, but it's like more consistently high. Whereas Next Generation has a couple of 10s, like quite a few 10s, but it's got a lot of like 2s and 3s in between. Whereas DS9 is consistently 8s and 9s. maybe a few 5s and 6s here and there, but a lot more 8s and 9s. And it does also have its 10s as well, like In the Pale Moonlight, greatest Star Trek episode of all time. In the Pale Moonlight. If you have not seen it, it's a must watch. And then there was Voyager too, and I originally hated Voyager because of one little nitpicky reason, and that's that Janeway kind of stranded her ship there on purpose because she wanted to be this noble woman who would hold to the, like, oh, we've got to save these people even at the cost of ourselves. I'm like, okay, well, you didn't really save them. You could have, I just didn't like the whole decision to strand the ship, we could, out of some idealistic, well, it would be wrong for us to use this guy's technology and send us back. I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? You know what? Like, and that was a big thing for me because I was like, you know what? She should have been the villain. If it was wrong to use this technology and send your ship back, you should have still done that, and you should have gone back with you having a guilty conscience, but the rest of your ship gets to go home. Then you could have bore the burden of, hey guys, I did something that was against the rules. Then submitted yourself for disciplinary action, but guess what? You got your ship home. That's what she should have done. I think that's what any commander should do, as opposed, because it really wasn't a harmful, like, it really didn't change anything. It was just, it was wrong, whatever. So I think she should have done, she put her own conscience over the welfare of her entire crew, which I didn't agree with that. But Voyager gets better, especially when 7 of 9 comes on. And some people hate 7 of 9. I think she saved the show for me. Not just because she was, a teenage boy's dream at the time, at least for me, but that she kind of challenged Janeway and her idealistic. And 7 would be the one to say, no, get your ship home, and then you deal with the guilt. It's your ego. Like, she called her out for that. And so on the rewatching Voyager a second time, I was like, okay, you know what? She redeems this show for me because she talked about what the things that bugged me. All right, so those are my, that's kind of the way I rank the Star Wars or the Star Treks is DS9 first, maybe Next Generation second. Voyager's, it's not bad, and eventually redeemed itself. But I put the OT last or the original series last because I haven't really even seen it all yet. As far as the movies, it's tougher to rank the movies. I think that, Wrath of Khan probably has to be number 1, but it doesn't hit me on a personal level as much. Look, this is going to sound terrible, but my favorite one is Nemesis, and that's everybody's least favorite one. But I freaking love it because it's got the awesome space battle. It's got one of the best space battles. It's got these super awesome ships, and I loved its space battle because it was multiple ships. Usually anytime you get space battles in Star Trek, it's like one ship versus one other ship, and it's really just about which crew is better. And in Nemesis, it was different. There was ramming. And there was like the Romulans came in and bought them some time. You had like 4 ships all in this awesome, like super high stakes battle. It was great. Those are cool looking ships. And I really liked Nemesis. And screw everybody who says I'm not allowed to like Nemesis because I really like Nemesis. There were also some absurdities in the premise of Nemesis. I get that. But I focus on what I love. And I loved a lot of the cool things that happened in Nemesis. So I really liked Star Trek Nemesis. But First Contact was cool too. You had a brief but really, really cool battle against the Borg in the beginning of that movie. Awesome. First Contact, great. I even liked Generations. Generations was cool because you saw the Enterprise D on the big screen. It was really nice. I wasn't as big on Insurrection. It wasn't a terrible movie, but it was more about the characters and less about the ships. A lot of people really liked Insurrection because they focus on the character story arc, and I care a little bit more about those ship battles, which is why I really, really, really wish we could get something like Star Wars Armada for Star Trek. And I know we have Attack Wing, but Attack Wing is trash. I don't count Attack Wing. I don't count that. No. You no be here. Me no think that Naboo is so smart. I feel like Boss Nass, like, waving away Attack Wing. Well, also another reason for Attack Wing 2 is like I'd never be able to get caught up. It's got like 10,000 expansions now, and they only, you couldn't even get into it now, wanting to have everything. And it's all not in scale, in sync too. I would love to have a whole Federation fleet. Oh, it'd be great. Anyway, I love Star Trek. I liked the new stuff too. I like Discovery is a pretty cool show. It's different. I'm not fully caught up with Discovery yet, though. We're like a few episodes into season 3. I wait until it's over because I'm not like in a desperate hurry to watch the new Star Trek shows as soon as they come out. A lot of that is because I don't have to report on them, and I'm not as worried about spoilers and stuff like that. Like Mando comes out, I watch it right away. WandaVision comes out, I watch it right away. By the way, WandaVision is so cool. I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I do. This show is really great. If you guys are Marvel fans, and maybe you were turned off by the idea of WandaVision being based off of old TV shows, watch it. And you got to put your dues in. First episode might not be that great. It starts getting better and better, and there's like a straight curve. Wait, this way. WandaVision just goes from like, I'm not so sure about this. Okay, well, that's a little better. Oh, that's a lot better. Oh, there's a lot better. Like WandaVision is just going straight up the curve. It's just getting so much better. Actually, it's probably a little bit of a curve, like once it started going, then it goes straight, So I really like that stuff. If you guys are just joining us, that we were talking about the AMG live stream. So let's go back to the AMG live stream. I talked about a lot of the complaints. People just had, I think, unrealistic expectations. But there was that line that Will Schick said. He said, "It's about the miniatures first." I think. Am I paraphrasing incorrectly? Is that not kind of what he said there about miniatures first? People are getting bent out of shape over that, and I just had to do a Picard facepalm. I'm like, are you kidding me? He runs a miniatures game company, and of course it's got to be about the mini, or maybe he said it's all about the miniatures or whatever. What he was saying is we run miniatures. The miniatures have to be great, and we really care. We have a passion for miniatures, and people are thinking, oh. I don't even know what people are thinking. Like the argument is like, no, it should be gameplay first or whatever. I'm like, well, good thing you don't have to worry about them inventing the gameplay for X-Wing, Armada, and Legion. You don't have to worry about that. Those gameplay systems already exist. They're not. I can't even imagine why people be upset about that. All they're taking over is, they're taking over. They want to make great miniatures. Why is that such a problem? The game engine's already there. I can't with some people. It's like, and the other thing is, he was saying that in the context of talking about his passion. Of course, I think it's a nitpick. I think it's one of those deals too where I talked about trolling earlier in the live stream. I think that was something where some people were like, hey, you know what, we can really troll some people here, because what's the most absurd context we could apply to this? Oh, I don't know. Maybe he's gonna say Will Schick's gonna be like, all right, we're gonna make a new expansion for Legion, but I'm gonna say we're just gonna make really cool minis. Not allowed to. We're not gonna play test anymore. We're not even gonna think. Just throw whatever keywords you want on there. Point cost? No, we'll make it cost 1 point. Free points, or like whatever. So who cares if gameplay balance goes down the toilet? I think that's what some people are trying to infer, and that's just absolutely absurd. Just because something is first as his priority, it doesn't mean that something else isn't second. It doesn't mean that first and second can't be really close. He's passionate about the miniatures, and he was saying that in the context of being asked about miniatures and miniature quality, trying to push the envelope, and like he talked about wanting to be able to make, trying to continue to improve upon the miniature making process. Look, how many of you guys are familiar with Marvel Crisis Protocol? That's a great game. You know what? And it doesn't just have miniatures with no gameplay. The gameplay is pretty good. It's a fairly simple system, and they've had consistent releases. There's so many things outside of just the miniature quality that have helped make that game good. And so they're really doing a great job with it. I wish they'd slow the hell down, though. There's so many expansions coming out all the time. I'm still trying to get stuff painted. I still haven't painted Angela yet. I still got her. I did something. I primed her and I put a wash on, and like as an undercoat, like one of the things they were doing on one of the AMG live streams, and I'm like, this will be kind of cool. I want to try and see if I do like really light coats, if that undercoat will show through and kind of give me some of the effects that I'm looking for, so. But yeah, I mean, but they're starting to get into some of the characters that I'm not as invested in, like She-Hulk, and I'm like, oh, I don't even remember what her actual name is, and then Enchantress. I'm like, I don't know if I really wanted Enchantress or not, but I feel like I'm a completionist. I don't know if I'm gonna do the Inhumans. So when I do Marvel Crisis Protocol stuff, like I get so few views on the unboxings and stuff. Like nobody really wants to see that stuff. So I don't know if it's really worth it to keep doing those. But I guess we'll see. All right. So let's see what else we got. I know I missed a lot of chat, so I apologize for that. You know what? Oh, let's talk about some other games. Because I actually got I got some approach. I might be taking a look in the future at the World of Tanks miniatures game. Have you guys heard of that? It's supposed to be a little bit like X-Wing, but with tanks. So that one looks interesting. I don't know if any of you guys are interested in stuff like that, but that would be kind of an interesting one to take a look at. Because I do occasionally, I get a lot of emails like, hey, would you want to review this or review that? And so sometimes I miss them, sometimes I get back. So it does. You play World of Tanks on PC? It seems interesting to me because I think it's one of those free-to-play games that wants you to kind of like buy an upgraded tank, or kind of like a League of Legends kind of format and that's kind of the formula they're going with. I don't really have a problem with that. If a game is fun enough, I have no problem like dropping down a few bucks for some premium currency to help support the game and to get something shiny. I don't mind that. But yeah, I didn't want to get addicted to it. So I might be taking a look at the World of Tanks miniatures game. Either this month or next month. I'm not sure yet. We'll have to see how that goes. One of the problems I'm running into is like I've got rid of a lot of games early last year when COVID happened, and a lot of them were like games that were sent to review or a lot of them were games that I just bought. But I tried to sell a few, and I'm like, you know what, I don't really want to sell these, so I found some. I gave some away to some folks that could use them. And so that was, especially since so many people were staying at home. Like I know this one guy who's got 5 kids and didn't, and all of a sudden now they're all stuck home all day. And so I'm like, here, here, I got a bunch of board games in my trunk. Let me hook you up. And now you're going to go home. You're going to be hero dad because you're going to, hey kids, we got all these games that you guys can play while you're sitting around bored all day. But that's one of the problems is I have limited room. I picked up new bins. I can't show you right now. But I've got. I'll have to show you guys my terrain storage for Legion right now. It's going crazy. How many of you guys remember the old Hoth terrain I did for Legion when Legion first came out? I did a lot of the white stuff terrain. Well, it's interesting because like the snow effects that I put on there would like fall off periodically. So I went to go revisit that terrain. Because Monster Fight Club's Ice Wilds and stuff like that, that stuff is gonna, they closed up the pledge manager for that, so I don't know when that's shipping. It'll probably be in a couple months, I guess. But I'm looking forward to that. But it got me thinking about I need to revisit some of the ice terrain. Maybe I should make some more, And so I looked at a lot of it. Some of it's decayed. I made some with like foam, and some of that didn't work out too well. But I took some Mod Podge, and this was my latest project, and I went and redid some of because some of the things were falling apart. Like I made this boneyard, and and it's kind of like the remains of an old dinosaur or something like that. But a lot of the bones had broken off because I made the bones out of clay, and in the humidity over the summer, they just started to fall apart. And it's been a couple of years. So I covered the whole thing in Mod Podge, and now I got a nice strong seal on all of these. And it's white, and so it looks like it's just iced over. And now I had like broken bones, so this piece is totally transformed. And this is all area terrain. Minis, infantry can go through, but vehicles can't. And so I've got a really cool piece of terrain here that's been kind of resurrected and brought back. So I took maybe like 6 or 7 pieces of like icy terrain and Mod Podged them up, and now all these little bits of snow that was just like sandy bits that would fall off on my table and get all over the place are now like sealed in, and so that was fun. So I've been doing some hobbying lately, trying to restore some terrain. I've been painting some terrain. How many of you guys remember the LV427 interior corridors stuff? For Legion, I've been painting that at least a little bit, trying to get like a base coat down and a little bit of paint on some of the rooms and stuff like that. Did my whatchamacallit, I pulled out the airbrush and I did the skate pod. Because we got so much desert terrain, we filmed a Legion battle report using some of that desert terrain lately. Oh, and I did this one too, which I had never done. Man, I've never even used this. This was like the most expensive Legion expansion ever, and I never used it. So I did this thing, and we did the little thing inside. So I got a few lights on it. It's mostly still gray, but it's a good kind of natural fade of gray with just enough highlights that I feel it looks kind of appropriate now, as opposed to that cardboard boxy or that fresh off the sprue kind of gray. But yeah, I've been doing a lot of painting. So one of the things I want to do, and I got to iron out the time for, because it takes a long time. But I want to do the full interior LV427 stuff. We have a full interior battle report, because I've got another review of some more LV427 stuff coming up this coming week, so stay tuned for that. And I've got more terrain. I think tomorrow we got another playmat video coming out from GameMats.eu. I've had a lot of people sending me stuff lately, so it's been really cool having. The weird thing is, like, it almost all arrived like right on the same day, and I'm like, oh, I was already backlogged, and so I had so much, and I'm just I was up till like 1 o'clock last night trying to get some things filmed and processed and edited and uploaded and all this stuff. It's been exhausting. So, all right, guys, I think I'm going to kind of wind this down. Hopefully you guys enjoy the rest of your Saturday night. Thanks for hanging out and watching the stream with me today. I will talk to you guys soon. Be sure to stay tuned. We got some more terrain coming up this week. I'm going to be also starting on some of the Armada videos for the individual ship. Taking a closer look at some of the individual new ships and giving some thoughts on those. Armada, you collect enough ships relatively quickly that you don't need more ships. There's an upper limit to what you can use officially. Well, yeah, I mean, officially, but I mean, isn't the unofficial play where it's at? All right, guys, I'll talk to you later. I want to thank you so much for watching. Big thanks to my patrons as well. You guys are awesome. We're going to, the Discord, I'm going to be announcing the winners for the last live stream for the Discord probably tomorrow or tonight. I don't know. I'll post them in there. So just make sure if you're not already in Discord, hop in. There's links below, but I'll be doing some giveaways there in the future as well. So, all right, guys, talk to you later. Thank you so much, and as always, have a great day.